Yeah, I already am. Just messing about with these lights for a minute. Laptop in the screen, that's what I don't want. That's a bit better. Excellent. It's a shame that the tank glares so much, otherwise we'd be much better off. Oh well, not much you can do about glass tanks, apart from turn lights off. Or maybe if we turn them off and turn them on, we can do this a little bit better. Turn them on. Maybe the glare won't be as bad. Are we still on with glare? Well, it's not as bad. Still pretty bad, but still, that's not too bad. Not amazing, is it? Yeah, we're gonna have to turn this one, I think. I think just for now, we're just gonna have to put this one on. Bring the laptop over here a minute. And then we can do it this way. Cheers, Chris. Appreciate the time. Obviously, with it being the new channel, I'll give everyone a few minutes. I was a bit early anyway, setting up, so we'll give everyone a few minutes just to join in. Hopefully that everyone's realised it's 6 o'clock. I know obviously that this is a new channel, so obviously not everyone's going to get the prompt straight away that I'm online, unlike I was on Facebook, where everyone knew straight away that I was online. So we'll just give it a few minutes. Hopefully the ant chat room will become a little bit more busy, and then we'll get going with the updates. If not, then I'll just have to update the few that are here. I'll post it online anyway, and then everyone can re-watch it and rerun. We'll do it that way. Oh, cheers, Chris. Appreciate it. Just want to make sure everyone can hear me all right. Making sure that the sound quality is, obviously the video quality is better, but obviously we just want to make sure that the sound quality is better. I know on the YouTube it's going to be better than Facebook, but I just want to make sure that everyone can hear me okay. There's no delays coming through, and then we'll, like I say, we'll give it a few minutes and we'll get going. Obviously there's a lot to update you all on in terms of what's happened in here and what's happened out of the ant tank as well. So obviously there's a lot to update you on. So obviously I'll give it a few minutes and then we'll get going. Well, I'll try and find some new batteries as well, because that light's terrible. Cheers, Chris. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Obviously, I know there was a few of you that was excited for tonight anyway. Obviously, I know it's our first YouTube channel going live. Obviously, we've done this for video quality more than anything else. Obviously, when we try and get in close, hopefully we'll be able to see the ants a lot better. Not only have I got this tank to show you, but I've also got the super colony to show you as well, just to stretch the video a little bit. We will be doing this for about an hour. Every Sunday night now, I think we're going to make this kind of a regular update thing, where we'll update you on the goods, the bad things that have happened in the week. Catch you all up on a Sunday night. Do it about 6 o'clock. Obviously, if 7 o'clock's better for some, if you just leave a comment in the description, then we'll have a bit of a vote on it, and then we'll go with either 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock, depending on which one's better for the majority of the viewers. And then we'll, as of next Sunday, we'll either do it at 6 or we'll do it at 7. At the minute, I think 7 o'clock's probably going to be the better one. 6 o'clock's probably just a little bit earlier for a Sunday. Everyone's still out at the pub or eating their Sunday roast. I wish I was. Chicken dinner. Chicken dinner and rice. So yeah, we'll give it a few minutes, and then we'll give it a go. Let's try and get in close to the colony, which I don't know if you can see just yet, the glare's bouncing off the tank, but there is the colony at the minute, and they've, as you can see from here, the ant mound has become quite substantial. If you remember from the first video, this was all flat ground. It went up to about here. So you can see just in a week the ant mound that they've created. Now this goes at the front as well as the back, and I'll explain and I'll show you all a little bit more, but this is quite interesting. I know obviously a few people had mentioned that the tank, is going to be really interesting to see. It's a very natural look, and obviously you can see what's going on underneath the soil. What I didn't realise was that they actually have not only built one nest here, they've actually built several nests, which is quite interesting. But like I said, I'll go through all the downs and the ups side of things that's happened in the past week. Just give it another 2 minutes, and then we'll crack on. And we'll, like I say, we'll just steam ahead, and I'll repost the video later on, and people can watch the reruns. If you have any questions, please just ask. I'll answer them as best I can. I've got the laptop open here, down here, so we can see the questions that you're asking, and I can obviously reply to you as best I can. So yeah, 2 minutes, and then we will get going. Let's bring my laptop a bit closer. My big fat head's in the way. Chris asks, have you noticed growth in the colony since moving them in? Good question. I will explain. What's happened, and then but I will get to that question. I'll explain exactly what's happened in the past week since putting them in. Just get my drink. There we go. I probably can't show you the front side, or I'll probably get done for false advertising or something. Okay, I think that's long enough. I think people are gonna, I'm probably gonna have to post this video and let everyone rewatch it anyway. But obviously if you could like the video, post it, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and then obviously you'll get notifications straight away when I go online next Sunday. Then at least you won't miss it if you are available to watch it. So let's start then. Chris, you noticed growth in the colony since moving them in. Okay, good question. When I first put them in the tank, we decided to opt in for the pouring option. So we spooned them in from the tub, if you remember. We spooned them in and we let them crack on from there. Unfortunately, this was the bad idea. We lost a lot of fungus in the first couple of days, so it wasn't great. We lost about 50% of the fungus by spooning them in, due to the fact that in the first 48 hours the air inside is rather dry instead of like a humid kind of warm temperature. It was a very dry temperature, very dry heat, sorry I should say. So unfortunately, if you can see here along this ridge is all the dried up fungus that we lost when we first put them in. So we've had to, shall we say, operate on my large colony, and we've took a couple of spoonfuls just to replace it. Obviously there's a lot of ants in this colony, so we don't want to lose the food source too quickly, so we've had to pinch some from the large super colony and give it to these girls, which they've accepted straight away. So it's just a case of we wanted to make sure that there was enough food source for the ants after we lost so much. So there's a downside. Like I say, we're not going to just shine light up on this and say, yeah, everything's worked. I am going to be honest with you, we did lose about 50% of the fungus due to the fact that it was a dry heat, and obviously the fungus dried out pretty quickly, which isn't brilliant, unfortunately. So we know now that if we were to install one of these tanks for a customer, we would leave the actual colony inside a tub and let them work out where they want to establish the colony within the tank. So that was the downside, that we did lose such a large number of fungus straight away, unfortunately. But like I said, we did replenish that fungus, because obviously there is such a large amount of ants that if we hadn't have done, the colony would have probably lost a significant amount of ants due to there being not enough food source. However, since removing some fungus from the super colony and giving it to these, they have actually been growing it really well. We can actually see, and obviously you guys can't see just yet because of the glare that's on the tank at the moment, but this is where they've actually set up camp at the minute. And in here is 2 chambers. There's one at this side and there's one little further back around the other side, and I'll show you in a moment. But at the moment, they're actually have got their main fungus chamber here, and then they've got a smaller one at the back. So at the moment they have 2 fungus chambers, and which I have seen them bring leaf material in over the last few days. So they're definitely adding to it. You can definitely see all the pupae, which is great. So obviously they are back on the upscale of things, which is fantastic. Over the last 24 hours, I remember posting on the Facebook page, over the last 24 hours, they've actually started to excavate more of the chamber here. If you remember from the first photo that I posted up a few days ago, you'll notice that the chamber was significantly about this much across. Now it's that big. So the chamber it's actually itself, the main fungus chamber, has actually got a lot bigger. So they're cutting really well. They're adding that leaf matter to the fungus, and the fungus is growing at a nice rate now. So that's probably why they've extended, or expanded I should say, the main fungus chamber. Okay, so that answers your question, Chris. The colony hasn't had much growth over the week. They actually lost a lot at the first few days, the first 3 days. However, the back 4 days, they've actually cut a lot of leaves, and they actually are more continuing on the construction of the main chamber. If I can take you over here a moment, I will try and do this the best I can. Over here, there is actually a series of 1, 2, 3, 4 chambers. The main colony is over here, and they're actually digging for super chambers here, which I've never actually noticed or seen before in when we do the pod setups or the tank setups. However you would naturally set them up, or you'd purchase them. And obviously you only get the one pod, and then you see all the fungus in that one particular pod, and then obviously you add modules on later on. Over here, what I believe they're doing is that they've settled here for when they were first put in. It was the closest to the wet material, or should I say the wet substrate. So they've dug here first and they've dug down. The queen does reside here, but over the course of the week, while they've got acquired to the tank, I should say, they've actually started a major construction over here, where there is 1, 2, 3, 4 entrances to the chambers. So we believe, or I believe, that the colony is actually going to move from here, and they'll eventually go to here, which would make sense. They've obviously rushed to an area to establish a safe environment while they work elsewhere to create their super chamber, if you will, or the actual chamber that they will house themselves in for the future. So this is what I believe they're doing here. We've added a few leaves on sticks, so obviously the privet leaves that we're feeding them at the moment. This is just one way we add leaves into the tank. It's probably the nicest way of doing it. Obviously, if you can imagine a big row of privet leaves here, and then I also add privet leaves just pulled off the actual branch, if you will. We'll lay them on the floor just to make it a little bit easier for them. Obviously, it's still a new colony, they're still growing, so we don't want to stress them out and create too much hard work. We've added an apple in at the beginning of the week, to help with sugar depletion and obviously their natural energy, if you will. So we've added that in, which is almost gone now. So yeah, they're doing really well. As for, like I say, as for adding the colony in, they should have been added into a tub first. The tub that I actually had them in should have gone into a smaller tub and then put that tub inside. Or most better off, what we should have done was cover the fungus over, drilled a hole in so that the ants could come and go as they please. We didn't do this, we obviously just spooned them straight in, which was a bad idea. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to quickly try and show you. Obviously, hopefully better off, the video quality will be better, I'm hoping. If not, then what I'll do is I'll get some still photos and I'll add these into the live stream later on. But I'm hoping that we get a much better video quality, so you can see this colony up close. What I'm probably going to do is I'll shine a light on the area, so you can see them a lot better. Hopefully that got rid of the glare as well. That's what I was trying to do these for. So if we can just take you guys over here. Like I say, I don't know how well you can see. I do apologise if you can't see all that well. I was hoping the video quality would be better. Which it's... Yes, thank you. So there we go. I can't see too well myself now. So as you can see here, is a extension of the actual original chamber. Here's the main entrance down into the chamber, and then the ants originally were that wide, if you will, that kind of size chamber. So the last few days they've excavated this out really well and they're starting to go down. Now if you can see really well, the actual ants are carrying soil matter. If you look up, there's a bit of fungus, soldiers. But yeah, as you can see here, they're starting to channel the way down now. Obviously they're adding bits of waste as well, but also at the same time they're bringing that back up and expelling it out over the top. I don't know how well you can see that actually. So if we go around to this side, then you can see here, I'm hoping. I don't know, my phone's just glaring it off. That's not what we want. Yeah, we're going to have to find a better way to do this, I think. So I'm sorry for the poor video quality again. As you can see here, there's the main fungus chamber, or the main fungus garden, right across here. Yeah, it is, Chris, yeah, you're quite right. And you can see here, it goes all the way up to the top here. So this is the main entrance, if you will, up here. Heck, yeah, it is actually. If we zoom out a little bit more. So there's the main entrance chamber here. There is the main fungus garden chamber. Now this does actually go right the way back, a couple of inches, and it does actually go up inside. It's about that. So what you can see here is just a slight strip of them. And then if you look further up over here, this little body of ants is actually connected to a larger body of ants, which is at the back here. And then obviously it goes to this body. Now this chamber does actually come out around about here, so they are connected in a way. I have seen a few bodies of ants running past, but they've yet seemed to block that up a little bit, so that we can't see entirely what's going on between here. But I do know from what I've seen over the past week that this is actually connected. So as you can see from just the actual large scale of things, if I just bring you that way, and then the door becomes reflective, so I don't apologise. You can just see that the chamber actually goes to here. If I zoom right back out and put it there, that's it. Then we can see that the chamber is actually this deep. And obviously all this was originally in here. So they've expelled quite a lot of ground, if you will. But like I said, there's the fungus chamber. There's an ant bringing a leaf in. And then there's the extended tunnel. So like I say, I'll do some real close shots anyway, so that you can see you can see that the full size and the full scale of it, and we'll get some better. We'll do next week. We'll do a better, obviously, with the lighting, and we'll try and get that sorted so that there's not as much glare on the tank, and we can see better. We might have to invest in a better camera as well, so we'll go from there anyway. But like I said, you can see that the main chamber's here anyway, so good sizes. They're actually doing what they're supposed to be doing, which is fantastic. So we know this setup works, or we know it's working. I won't say it works just yet. It is working. So they're doing really well at the moment. As Chris says, yeah, it is a deep chair, but it's about 8 inches at the moment. If I was to visually guess, it's about 8 inches deep, which is 200mm. So they are burrowing quite deeply at the moment. So if you go from the fact that this was all flat at one point, and now it's a mound, if you will, which is really good. Which is really good. They originally started digging here when they were first brought in. They were originally started digging here, and then they stopped. They really did stop. They got to about this kind of mark, and then they realised that the substrate was very dry, and they didn't continue. So what I'm guessing is they went to the edge of the tank where the substrate wasn't as dry or wasn't as deep. If you remember when we first set this up, we put a layer of dry substrate on the top, and then we wet everything below that. This point here was the lowest of the dry substrate, so it was only about 1 centimetre deep. So they quickly excavated that, and they moved on to. They went straight into the moist substrate, which has worked out really well. You know, I can honestly say that it's been obviously it's been a very hard week. We had to replace, like I say, a good half, if not less, of the fungus that they originally had or they originally started with. We have seen the queen wander around a bit the first few days. She obviously stayed with the pile that was put in the middle, and then eventually she did actually leave that pile and then was dragged. I do have photos of this. She was dragged from the pile into the back. Obviously we'll go up and over in a moment, but she was dragged into the back of the tank where they started excavating as well, and then after a few more days she was dragged into here. I think I came down Thursday morning to find that she was inside here. So we know where she is. I haven't seen her since, but this chamber does go back quite a way. So hopefully once they start excavating a bit more of the tunnels, and hopefully they'll build another chamber, we'll start to see her a bit more. Obviously we'll keep you up to date with that, and we'll add photos onto the group, onto the page, sorry, later on. We will go up and over in a moment, but first off, Harry mentioned on the group if I can't remember what you said now. I do apologise, Harry, but I know what it was in regards to. I believe he was asking about new projects, etc. I have took an order for a Harpic Nasoth tank build, custom tank build, which we're going to start in a few days. So obviously it turns out that I'm spreading out a little bit. Obviously I will always specialise in leafcutter ants and the different species and different setups of leafcutter ants, but obviously we will take custom orders for our customers for specific setups. Obviously we're starting to do Harpic Nasoth tanks now for a particular customer, which will be finished in the next, confirmed on Monday, and then we'll start building it. But we've got a very specific worksheet that we're working towards, and I hope the customer's very happy with that tank. It'll be a 30 centimetre square tank, so that the ants, there'll be about a 10 centimetre substrate in there, and then he's asked for a single vent system. I recommended a double fan system. He asked for a single fan system. We're going to put a double fan system in. We're going to put a heating system in there, in this 30 square tank. We're going to put, like I said, we're going to put a double fan system in there. We're going to put a heating system in there, Substrate, which is a loam clay soil substrate, I believe that's what we're going for. There'll be a feeder in there as well, and obviously we've built this to the customer's design, well, his specifications I should say. So yeah, so obviously we're branching out a little bit. We're now taking orders for tanks of different species, not only just leaf cutters, but we're also doing Harpic Nasos tanks as well, which is going to be really interesting. Obviously I'll keep you guys up to date on them for any of you that may be interested in Harpic Nasos. Obviously some of you don't keep obviously these specific ants, you can always put in a request for a more specific designed tank. I'll investigate, I'll find out what the requirements are, and we'll build a tank to each and every single individual customer specific customers specifics, like I say. So we'll be doing that in the near future, and obviously some of you have inquired in regards to one of these. At the moment obviously we're not taking orders for them until we work out everything, but we are getting ready to start taking orders for these tanks. I know it's only been a week and it's been a short week. Hi Nick, Nick427. So yeah, we are going to do would you cost be roughly for species specific tanks? Bleh. I don't quite know what you mean there, Chris. Would you cost be roughly for species specific tanks? I think I know what you're saying. And what we'll do is we will do a tank for a specific species, and we will estimate the price depending on how far we go with it. Like I said, the Harpic Nasos tank that we're doing for Harry or Nick427, his tank comes with a double fan system, a heating system, substrate, feeders, red acrylic for the nest type. So there's a lot to go in there, and then there's the delivery of the tank as well. But he's asked for, originally it was a 30 by 20 by 20, 30 long, 20 high, 20 wide. What would the cost be? I can't say just yet until Monday. My glass supplier was away on holiday this weekend when I rang him on Friday, so we will get back to you on Monday with that specific cost. However, the cost roughly at the moment without the tank, I think for all the equipment alone, just the equipment alone, the substrate, the equipment, I believe, I can't remember. I'm blank. Message me if you're interested, Chris. I'll get back to you on that. But yeah, we are going to start doing design specific tanks for specific species. I'll do the investigation. I will do the investigation on the required habitat, etc., and we will try and build that within a tank, or we will design a tank around that specific design. If you that specific species, sorry. Yeah. To be honest, I don't know what I'm doing with that yet. We don't know whether to go black with it, or we don't know whether to get it all stained and make it look old and fashioned. But yeah, but getting back to Chris's idea, what I am hoping to do, obviously we'll take each individual ant species requirements and we'll build something to that 40k terrain, yeah. Yeah, we could do that, obviously, if that's what you want. Put some Space Marines in there or something. Well, whatever it is nowadays. But yeah, so like I say, Chris, we will start building, as the weeks roll out, we'll start rolling out some specific tanks for certain species. And we'll design them really well, I'm hoping. Like I say, Harry's tank is a very unique design. Double fans again, as I said, double fans, heaters, etc. So yeah, we're looking forward to doing them. As for this specific tank, so we'll come back from that and jump back onto this. So for this specific tank, we're going to look at adding a different type of heating system. Not just, obviously the soil is heated anywhere, but what we're going to do is we're going to add a heating system on the above to heat the air. But what we're also doing with that is we're going to add a fogger and a mister as well, or a fog mister, if you will. So that when it comes on at 8 o'clock in the morning, it's replicating what would actually happen in the jungle. So obviously the fog mist, if you will, would roll through the undergrowth in the mornings and then dissipate by about 10, 11 o'clock. So we're going to actually try and replicate this in the tank as well. So that's going to be interesting. So we're adding foggers, heaters, mists as well into the tank to replicate as much of a jungle. But obviously these guys aren't just found in jungles, so you know, in that Pacific warm environment, so yeah, we're going to add foggers, misters, and we're going to do things like that as well as a new heating system for it, so we can warm up the air as well. And the air at the moment is about 22 degrees anyway, but we just want to make it just that little bit warmer, try and keep everything at 25, and then obviously dip it off a little bit during the night, so maybe drop it down to 23 during the night, and then raise it back up again first thing on the morning. And obviously then at morning, or at dusk I should say, the foggers will come on, and there should be a nice little line of fog covering and just dampening the top of the soil, so that the moisture content is keeping at a steady level. What we're also going to do is we're going to add some kind of soil creatures, so we might add a couple of worms in here as well. Just so that the soil is... What are you using for the fogger? Until I look into it, Chris, and what kind of models there are, we won't know a great deal about it. I've only just honestly thought about it in the last couple of days. Well, since I've got asked to do that Harpic Nasos tank, it got me thinking about actually adding a mist or a fog in here. And obviously with the heater on as well, that we're going to put in the top, it should create more of a high humidity in the air, and not just so much of a high humidity underneath, underground I should say, but it should also add a high humidity in the air as well, which is the idea of what we're trying to obviously achieve. I know you can buy foggers and misters for about 50 quid, so we might add one later on. Like I said, we'll get the heater on as well, and then we'll create a really nice humid air in the tank itself, which is ideally what we want to do. So yeah, that's the what are you using for? Yeah, I've just answered that question. So yeah, if you've got any more questions, obviously please do just ask, and we will do our best to answer them. If I don't answer them straight away, well then we'll just answer them. Morning fog or morning mist, something like that. It's got a good reviews. Yeah, it does. I have seen, like I say, I've only doing it. I've been looking at it for the last day or so. So Exoterra do one. I think there's only one or two actually on the market at the minute. In the reptile world, there isn't many on the market. I don't believe. Well, not that I've seen anyway. I've only seen maybe two. On the market, 2 or 3 on the market, so we'll think about adding one into here, which should create a nice forestry jungle kind of feel to the tank as well. Shame we're growing privet and not some kind of banana leaf or something. That'd be interesting, wouldn't it? So yeah, as you can see, at the moment the tank's doing really well. We've only had one major drawback, which, like I say, is when we first put the ants in. So if we ever do a customer install, or we ever do a second tank, then we know not just to pour the ants in. We'll keep them in a container and we'll let them add themselves naturally to the environment.
At the moment, they are doing really well in terms of actually tunnelling down and building the chambers that they require. Which is another smart thing is I spread the soil and some vines to the open glass. Yeah, we could do that. Yeah. Another really smart thing we found was that if you actually look down at the top, the tunnel is actually more of a slant, but because the glass is of a rectangle, if you will, if that's the best rectangle I can create, then the top of the tank is like that, if you will. The substrate goes like that, so they create the anthill. So when we sprayed in the mist, when we sprayed water to soil, when we sprayed the water mist onto the soil to dampen it, we realised that the ants had actually built like a pile of earth to stop the water going, as in like that kind of effect, like a zigzag kind of effect. So the water doesn't go straight into the actual nest, it actually runs at a slope and then hits a water barrier with another nest with some soil. So it's quite clever. So water or air, shall we say, can't go directly into the nest. It has to bounce off and work its way in. So which is really interesting to see. Oh, sorry, excuse me. Which is really interesting to see. And also when they're tunnelling as well, is you won't ever see more than 2 or 3 ants tunnel at the same time. The maximum I've seen was 2. 2 of them working at the front, 2 behind that, and 2 behind that. And they were actually clearing each other out. As 2 were going forward, the back 2 were cleaning the front 2, and it carried on going like that. So we've started to notice the actual habits of the ants tunnelling as well, which is again something you'd never see in a pod system, which is something you would never see in a tank system. You possibly see it if the tanks were all full of soil, but then it's not exactly giving you what you're seeing here. Nike, 427. Like in a rain system, I see my local reptile shop that could keep the moisture. Yeah, that's correct. We could add one of them. And like I said in the first original video, what we might do is create our own. So we'll run a pipe at the top with a load of holes in it. We might run 2, one at either side, so it's distributed evenly over the soil, and we can just run some water through there, and that could give us the idea of it raining as well. So that's obviously a good thing. Like I said, we're going to try and make this as natural as possible, or that is my goal, is to make this as natural as possible, and then to bring these kind of systems into your homes. Obviously, if you were to purchase one of these tanks, then you can try and create the most natural look of nature in a setup. Sorry. Now, would you ever do a large outworld for them to do stuff in for yourself? I think once they get to a much larger size, and I mean a much larger size, I'm not talking maybe 18 months down, I'm talking 18 months down the road maybe, then we might add something spectacular into that. I don't know what it could be at the moment. I've had literally just a brainstorm off the top of my head. What we could do is add another tank in further down the living room, and what we could do is like build a glass. Let's think about this. If we're going to do this, how would we do it? Build like a glass reservoir, fill it with water, and then put like a set of, if you imagine like a kind of glass tank, and then 2 pieces of glass in the middle where you keep the soil, so you could see them running along the top of that with the leaves and water running in between. You could do something like that. Do you know what I mean? You can get as creative as that, which would look pretty good. Bracket it to the wall, have it running across the wall. That would look pretty interesting if you ask me. Yeah, exactly. And that is the whole idea, Chris, you know, is to bring the most natural form of setup you can into the system like this. You couldn't replicate this in a small tank, you couldn't replicate this in a pod. That's why it's on such a large scale. The larger it is, the better, the more natural it's going to feel to them. And obviously trying to keep them humidity and the temperature to the correct degree is the hardest part, and the moisture content level is the hardest part. Once you've got them nailed and the system that will create to do that, again, as the weeks go on, we'll design new systems in which we can do this a lot better, and obviously the growth rates will be monitored and we can see exactly how well the ants are doing. But at the moment, they're really happy. Like I say, I'm still interested to find out what's going on over here. Will this be their new overall chamber, or will this just be... We'll have to wait and see. You never know, one day this might... There we go. That's a shame. And we're back. Sorry about that, guys. Just had some really bad technical issue then for some unknown reason. YouTube just decided to stop filming and gave me some kind of policy notice. Unusual. So yeah, sorry about that. Hopefully that in the actual video that will be cut out. So again, I do apologise. We'll do this for another 10 more minutes anyway, and then we'll end the live stream. And if you guys want to, like I said, we're still going to show you the inside of the tank first. But as Chris, as you rightly said, that if you were to own a aquatic making natural homes changes certain behaviour, I would imagine that that is correct in keeping invertebrates, not only ants but also, you know, spiders, etc. as well. So I would imagine that it is very similar. The more natural the setup, the more natural the behaviour, I would like to think. And that's what we're going to try and improve as well. So, you know, if you go to a zoo, it's exactly the same. This is just a smaller scale of a zoo display. If they have big natural setups, I would imagine that this is the same principle. The more natural it is, I would hope to see the more natural behaviour within the species. So yeah, you rightly said there, Chris. This is obviously why we're trying to do this. It's obviously to try and create a very natural feel to the tank. I just realised, to be fair, that should be on there. Doesn't obviously affect, probably a bit too bright to be fair, we could dim that down a little bit. I don't quite know what's going on here, because I can't see too much down here. Just refresh the group a little bit, and hopefully I can see what you guys are saying straight away, and not a few minutes later. So yeah, if you've got any more questions, obviously please do ask. Again, I can only apologise for the technical issue that we've just had. If you guys do have any more issues, then please If you guys have any more questions, then please do ask. We will answer them as best as we can. Obviously, again, if you could all, if you would like to, can you see the Queen? Hold on, and I will tell you. And the answer to that question is no, you cannot. I know she is in there, but you can't see her. The chamber, actually, unfortunately, I can't show you guys with the camera that I have at the moment. I can't show you deep enough into the colony. I will try and take some stills and I'll add them onto the Facebook page. The actual chamber here, even though you can only see this much this side and obviously a couple of inches that side, it does actually go, I would estimate, about 4 inches back at a diagonal. So I would say it does actually come back to about this point here, diagonally. So it's quite a large chamber inside there, and that I believe is where or the last time I did see her, I should say, that is where she was residing, which was right at the back of the chamber, just behind the fungus. You can see a lot of the fungus garden in that particular chamber, and I believe she's hiding at the back of that in the darkest, the deepest and the darkest point within the nest, if you will. So unfortunately, no, we can't see the queen, but I do know she's in there. I believe I did take a still photograph of her while she was getting dragged in. So I know she's in there. Obviously, in the next minute or two, I'll take you guys up and over, and you can see what's going on from the top. There's actually a little ant crawling up on this privet leaf here. Probably just trying to get out, actually, I would imagine. So far, we use British Ants anti-slip for the barrier to obviously stop the ants. It's obviously a clear product, so that's a reason why we've gone that way. It's a clear product, you can't see it, and obviously it's it's like an invisible barrier. And it's worked really well. I think we've only ever had 1 or 2 escapees out of this setup at the moment. I think that's just purely because of the amount of silicone that's on the actual side of the tank here. All 6 legs climbing up. It's obviously a lot easier for them. Harry, or Nike 427. I've got to keep your identity policy. Nike 427, as I spoke earlier on, we have actually spoke about that. We're doing the Harpic Nasos tanks. Sorry, I was just laughing at that, Chris. Yeah, definitely. Leafcutter ants always seem to be the most elusive despite their size. They obviously have a bigger brain than most ant species. Well, I would hope so. You know, the sizes that they are, I would expect them to have some kind of intelligence. I would hope so, anyway. But yeah, they are definitely, they are very elusive within a colony. And once the colony size gets big enough, the fungus balls get big enough, they'll just go straight inside. Oh, you've actually just in time, you know. I don't know if you can see, but there is a leaf on the go. So there's obviously good signs that the colony is actually doing really well. You know, they are cutting. The apple that I gave them a few days ago, that's almost gone. So yeah, they're doing really well. Like I say, we'll try and invest in better camera equipment. We'll try and take the glare away. Obviously, once the colony in a few weeks, you know, we'll see the colony develop better and obviously bring more and more leaf material back in, and obviously we'll get a better camera quality, and we can actually see the trail of leaves, hopefully, that we get into this particular chamber and not into these ones. But we shall have to wait and see. We really will. So anyway, I will take you out of your holder and then we'll go up top. But yeah, I'm sorry. Where is he? There you go. He's not going very far anywhere very quickly. So what we're going to try and do is we're just going to take the camera off your holder. We shall, and we'll go in the top. And hopefully you guys can see better. I don't know if you can see very well. I do apologise if you cannot. But if we go over here, you can see the entrance to the nest chamber. I'll tell you what, we'll put you inside the tank. Ow. And as you can see here, maybe we can't actually, I do apologise. Like I say, we will try and work on our camera skills a little bit better. But as you can see from my unsteady hand, you can see that the workers are going in, the leaf is going in. Yeah, sorry if you can't see very well, I do apologise. It's not the best of camera work, but here you go. Again, you can't see again, I do apologise. We're going to have to sort this glare out, we really are. We'll try once more. I'll just move that light. I'll put it down here. One moment, everyone. I do apologise. As you can see,
Not being funny, but can you put that shot, please?
yeah, no worries.
Sorry, guys.
Oh dear. Something happened in the household with children. So, anyway, it is coming up to our hour anyway. So I will try and show you. I'll take some stills. I'll do some better photography work. We'll invest in some better cameras, and we'll get the shots that we really need. So yeah, if any of you got any questions, please obviously just leave a few comments down below. I've obviously, by the sounds of it, it sounds like my eldest has been sick. Hey. So we'll, yeah.
I don't even know where to start.
Right, I'm gonna have to go, guys. I do apologise. We're gonna have to cut this one a little short. So yeah, everyone, thank you. Thanks for watching for the last hour. Obviously, again, we apologise. Yeah, we apologise for the technical issue, and we apologise for cutting it short. Obviously, we'll post this link up. Post this video, sorry, link up onto the channel if you want to watch back, ask any more questions, please feel free to message me. Like all YouTubers, as they say, hit the bell icon, hit the subscribe icon, and yeah, see you on the next one. Thank you very much.